you're there to protect the fighters.
Yes.
Cornermen should be there to protect their fighter.
Correct.
I had this discussion when I had Richie on, which is another one of your lookalikes. But where do you find it's a cornerman's job to potentially call a fight compared to a ref's, time to call a fight? And I remember with Richie, the example I brought up was the Anthony Smith fight. And, he came out strong in the first round. He won that first round, but then I guess his gas tank just blew out. The rest of the fight, I think Rogan or whoever was on commentary were kind of saying, I think out of the last 4 rounds, 3 of them were even 10-8 rounds. Like he was getting brutally beat to the point where he was picking up teeth off the canvas, handing it to the ref. The ref was grabbing them, putting them in the pocket, even going to the corner in between rounds saying, I'm losing my teeth. And as I say, I know you always want to give your fighter the opportunity to fight back, to win that fight. In my eyes, the problem there was it wasn't even close anymore. It was a point of where he was just taking damage for the sake of taking damage. And it's sad to see because I sometimes say and I relate it back to the Loyler McDonald fight where awesome fight to watch. It was so entertaining. But I don't think Rory McDonald ever came back after that the same, right? Sometimes you do take the soul out of these fighters by putting them through that punishment. And, we haven't seen Smith come back since, so he could be fine, but he may not be the same fighter, And when you think, a couple of fights before that, he was fighting for the title, and all of a sudden he got this belting put onto him. In cases like that, do you think the corner should be throwing in the towel? Or is it on, I guess, the ref to say, look, he's handing me his teeth. Like, I've got to call this. Like, because I just find one way or another that fight, me personally, I think that fight should have been stopped. Maybe not in the second round, give him another round. But as I said, like, once you get in these 10-8, 10-8, 10-8 rounds, and as I say, it's not even close anymore, I just think that someone should have pulled the pin. And I know Anthony came out afterwards and he said, my corner knows that if they throw in the towel, they're no longer my corner. Once again, like, dude, like, they just want to see you live. You know what I mean? Like, it's an unforgiving sport. So where do you stand with that? Like, where do you find it's the ref's obligation to stop a fight, and where do you find it's the corner's obligation to stop a fight?
In 14 years of reffing, I've seen the towel thrown in once in all that time. There's been many, many other opportunities where it probably should have been thrown in. For me, as a referee, if the fighter is still responding safely to my commands, the fight goes on.
Yeah, right. But do you then find moments like that the corner should be stepping in? Like, do you think it is a problem that we have that corners are reluctant to throw in the towel? I always say I find it funny, and I'm not saying that boxing throwing the towel, every fight, but I always talk about that in boxing, you do see the towel being thrown in a lot more. I even read an article, it could be because they are fighting in a ring and it's easy to throw a towel into the ring than over the cage, which I don't know if that's got any ground or anything. But do you find it that, it's kind of weird that, as I say, like with boxing, to recover from a loss is a longer road than recovering from a loss in MMA. Yet in boxing, the coaches are throwing in the towels a lot sooner than they do in MMA. Do you agree with that, one? And two, why do you think we are so reluctant? I mean, as you say, in 14 years, 15 years, you've only seen it happen once. Like, why do you think that is the case?
I think because the fighters threaten their team before the show. Don't you dare throw that towel in there. I've heard it in the change rooms. Don't you dare throw the towel in. Don't you dare throw the towel in.
But there's got to be a point that, even though they say that, there's got to be a point. Like, I mean, I get it. Like it's that let me go out on the shield, but you know what I mean? Like we're not talking about a tennis match where we'll just play again next time. You know, like we're talking about a sport that if you take enough head trauma or enough, damage, as I say, you're not going to come back the same way. And even once you retire, there's long lasting effects. Like, so at what point do you go, okay, yep, you've threatened me with that, but I'm going to do what's my duty of care, I guess.
I don't know what goes. I don't know what goes on in their minds. It's a fighter's mind. I'm not a fighter. I don't know. I don't know how they think. And I think if I was a fighter, I'd be telling them the same thing. Don't you dare throw that towel in. It's kind of maybe it's their last crack at it, and they want to make a go of it. I don't know.
I mean, to that point, we even had a month or so back, we had another fight. I forgot what his surname was. Young kid, Max. And in between rounds, he actually was asking his coach. He's like, I'm done. And his coach was like, no, you're not. He's like, I'm done. And literally he said it 9 times and his coach still sent him out, right? And he ended up losing in the next round, and he's since been released by the UFC. But even that I found boggling, that your fighters just and he took that fight on short notice. So whatever it was, like he might have run out of gas, he might have whatever, but because whatever reason is, he was like, I am done. And he's not begging his coach, but he's basically telling his coach, call this fight. And the coach is like, no, I'm not doing it.
I've copped more flack from cornermen than fighters when I've stopped a fight. The fighter, he's not complaining that it was stopped early or whatever the cornerman thing. The cornerman come running in abusing you, saying you stopped it too early. Yeah, but the fighter's not complaining because he was the one getting punched in the head, not you. Okay, they want to ref to fight Anthony Perosh versus Nick Penner, and Nick Penner was in the fetal position. Anthony's just when Anthony punches, he's like a robot. Donk, 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 and I could hear the punches and I could feel the punches through the canvas, through my feet. Now, the 10-second clapper had gone off. I'm not counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. I'm watching the fight. I'm watching for safety. With 1 second to go, I underhooked Anthony's arm and waved it off. Nick Penner's corner come in, all abusive and stuff. There was only 1 second left to go. And I'm not counting the seconds, okay? I'm watching for safety, okay? It was done.
Which I respect, and I guess that takes us back to Cruz's last fight as well. He kind of felt like the fight got stopped early because he was getting up, and I have to say I was one of those people that was kind of going, you know what, with 2 seconds to go, I probably would have let that fight go, just purely because there was 2 seconds and there was a title on the line. And I'll ask you the same question I asked Jimmy. Do you, because there is sometimes talk about that, depending on what's on the line, you'll allow certain things to go a little longer. Is that the case? Like, so for instance, like I'm on the prelims, 3-round fight. I take 4 unanswered shots. You call the fight. Now we're at the main event. It's for a title. Do you allow that four unanswered shots to maybe be 8 unanswered shots, or are you still going to call it at 4 unanswered shots? How does that? Do you give a little bit more leeway to, I guess, A, the main event, and 2, if there is a title on the line? Like, do you allow it to go a little longer?
No, it's the same. Fight's a fight, whether it's for a title or whether it's the undercard or whether it's an amateur fight. A fight's a fight. Okay, and when it's no longer safe to continue or you're not intelligently defending yourself, the fight's over.
And with the defending yourself, like, what are you looking for there? Is it just that they're coherent? So if you say, do something that they just react to that, or, when you say that they're defending yourself, like, I mean, if I'm covered up like this, but I'm crouched down in the ball, is that defending yourself? Like, what are you looking for when you're talking to these fighters?
Laying there and just covering your face is not intelligently defending yourself. Okay, I'm going to ask you to fight back. And I say that in the change rooms. I said, my final commands are, fight back, fight back, fight back. Do something to prove to me that you want to be there. Laying there covering your face is not intelligently defending yourself. Okay.
And what if they're like giving you the little thumbs up? Is that is that enough?
Well, in a guillotine position where I can't see their face, I'll always ask the fighter, okay, give me a little thumbs up if it's safe to do so. Okay. If I pull on your wrist a little bit, offer me a little bit of resistance, so I know you're still in the fight. And this is what I tell them backstage. I said, but if I pick your hand up and it hits the mat, the fight's over.